fucking got him!
She may be a shitbox, but she gets more action than fucking Kyle's AW11.
Woohoo! This is where it begins. Let's removing all my pretty blue panels, at least the ones that I can use, over to the green car here, and the panels that get replaced from the green car will move to the blue car, because that makes sense. Well, because I suppose this car is an 84 and I wanted a fastback style for this particular build, and I've already done all the work on this car, getting it stretched, and I got the engine mounted in and such, everything cleaned and painted. I started on this car originally. You can see I grinded bare metal everywhere. I even started priming on that side, but just, you know, I didn't have the car in my possession, and then I don't know, decided the 87 is just currently in a little bit better state, as well as has a lot nicer interior parts in it. Doesn't have the nicest door there, kind of sagging, I think. It's got the better headlight motor design and a few other just little tidbits that make it better. So, you know, it is what it is. But anyhow, oh, I guess another one is it has a good windshield that isn't falling out. This one here, you can actually see, you know, I can actually separate that there. The window's kind of popping out, I guess because it's missing the seal here, but you know, the sunroof is glued down in this car because it leaks. This car sunroof does not leak, so that's nice. So anywho's, gonna get started on that. I'm gonna start with the hood. In this case, I never did get around to painting the front bumper here, and my primer job ended up turning out really bad on the front and rear bumper, so it's just popping off anyway. I didn't really prep well enough. I have a red front and rear bumper off a car from the junkyard. I ended up doing it a little bit later after I painted the car, and it just ended up turning bad. It's peeling over here too, even where I did paint it blue. So I'm not sure exactly what all panels I'm going to be able to even save off this. Probably not a lot. I have a nice roof skin here. I'm changing to the fastback, so I can't use the notchback there. The quarter panels I'll probably change, even though I'll need to extend them, you know, for the stretch there. Like I said, the rear bumper probably needs to be redone, but you know, I might just move that one over just because. The deck lid, notchback deck lid, so can't use it. That'll stay. Gas cap, I suppose, is the same, so I can keep that. Of course, that quarter again. I don't know about the door panels yet, because they got those fastback trims down on the bottom, or aero trims, ground effects, whatever you want to call them. I don't know. Pieces of plastic on the side of the door. I don't know if there's holes holding those on or what. I've never taken one of those apart before, so find out. But possibly doors, possibly fenders. They're kind of the same case. And I think that's it. Oh, and of course the headlight covers, which kind of come with the hood. So we'll see how moving the hood goes over. I tell you what, if you Want to go ahead and take this for $1,000? I'll throw in that supercharged Buick that's blown up and no good for another $1,000. Now that's a deal. Hit me up. Found an issue with the starter.
Let's go gambling!
I thought the starter was the wire going in, the purple wire going in was on that end. It comes all the way around and goes in on this side, same as where the power main, which is, well, this wire kind of tucked in here. See it go going down? Well, the purple wire goes in right here.
Oh, dang it!
Because it comes all the way around, it's got a connector. It's just not plugged in. So once I find the other end, which is hanging around in here somewhere, we're good.
Oh, dang it!
Let's see.
Oh, dang it! Oh, dang it! Oh, dang it!
Ah! Why?
Northstar updates. It has been quite a while, but I'm trying to put together this car within a couple 3 weeks. See if I can at least make it drive around, because I've been putting a lot of money into formula here, which is kind of supposed to be just our placeholder car for this car. So since this car is in an okay spot, a couple $300 is too much to put into this car. We've instead put another couple thousand into this car, which makes perfect sense. Now where it's at, because it's been sitting for, well, 8, 9, 10 months, something like that. Actually longer. I think I put this in here last year in, what was that, October, November, somewhere in there. So I don't know. It's been a while. Point is, nothing much has changed except for I have got in the back motor mount. I had to add a 1/4 inch steel spacer in there, which I made from Harpo steel that I have laying about. It could still use one more motor mount, and then they can each be taken out individually and made better. Clean them and paint them and all that good stuff and put them back in. But it's together good enough to for now. At least make it yard driving per se, and then before we try and take it out and slam on it and go 80 miles an hour and all that good stuff, maybe clean those up a bit. Right now the difficulty is wiring, and part of wiring is the PCM and all its security BS, which you've seen me make this run. It's possible to get around it, but it started being annoying, and so I went ahead and sent that off to Jake at Northstar Performance, and allegedly he will delete all of that and make it run even better, which is good. I'm hoping that I can retain the fuel pump control off of it and a couple other little knick-knacky things like that. that I'm kind of still using. And of course it's also going to control the transmission. I don't know if you can maybe up the shift points a little bit on that or whatever. But yeah, that's in shipping at the moment. So I've been working on the inside of the car. I just got this side all cleaned and prepped, minus that little insert there, which I'll have to get later because I don't have time to right now. But I have more insulation, some matting from Scar Audio. I've never used it before, so I'm gonna see just how good that is. I guess we have plenty of other cars that need sound dampening material, so I'm gonna try that out. I got the big pack, 36 square feet, 9 sheets of it that are about 30 inches by 18, so more than enough to probably do this car, inside of this car, probably twice. But that's all in prep of being able to wire and install the dash and all that good stuff. Wiring is a real big project on this car, not because of the engine side, but because I want to have a lot of control over the wiring. So, and I want it to be extra safe because I plan on adding a lot to this car. So just for now, and I haven't even added all this yet, but I will show you on Matt's truck over here, which, by the way, I need to do an update on this because, believe it or not, it drove around the block for the first time in 7 years. And it's doing so reliably, which is good. Let me just see if I can get this prop up real quick. There we go. He's got his nice new shiny engine installed. Ran into a few problems, but we've addressed them and we're going all right. Okay, so this is basically the same thing that I'm doing to that car, except I haven't completely done it yet. Right off of the outside terminal, we have a big wire that's going through a 100 amp circuit breaker. So that way the entire car, or I'm sorry, not entire car, but all this extra stuff that he's adding, this is just going to be for an accessory box for him right there. Will shut down if it is pulling too much for the whole fuse box. Now what that does is it then goes output over here, goes in point to this starter solenoid. This is just like a standard 4-post solenoid. You got one side here, you can see it just goes right to ground, and then you got the other side here. This white wire is the signal wire, and then when that has ground and that has power, it will connect this side here to this side, and this side goes to 2 leads that power that fuse box and relays. So that way that whole fuse box is only on when ignition is on, and this white wire comes over here and is connected to the ignition coil. So it's only going to take 0.1 amp or whatever to trigger this thing, so that's not going to be pulling too much amperage from the coil or whatever, and we know that the coil only gets power with key on. So that's all good stuff, but that's gonna run electric fans, some lights, some other various things he's got going on. But that's kind of the system that we're gonna have going on over here. Now the difference is that I also have a battery fuse box. So I have not added the solenoid or the circuit breaker yet, but this fuse box here, which is original from the Cadillac, which I'm using now, that's on all the time. And then I have 2 fuse boxes here. This one is battery on all the time, and this one turns on with the key. Currently I just have like a basic relay somewhere, I forgot where, that activates that when the key turns on. But that's that. And now we're also going to have, we're getting rid of the factory fuse box here because I'm not using pretty much most of these fuses. The few I do for some of the interior items, I'm going to have control over that myself, and that will be with this fuse box here, which is also going to be triggered with key on. And that's going behind the console where the computer used to be for the V6.
I'm gonna make my own console to go in this kind of area because the OEM one is kind of just some problems. Oh, by the way, pro tip, if you do have stock console, which I think 99% of people do, get something like this added in here. This is just some real high density foam. It's real stiff. I made that 2015, so it's 9 years old. I just cheaply threw a piece of leather on it, and oh my gosh, that'll save your elbows, because this thing here, hard as a rock after driving for more than 5 minutes. By the way, Formula has a quickie release steering wheel that I can't get off with one hand in Sparko, because Sparko. Anyhow, save your elbows with that. So I'll do something nicer with this car. Anyways, a big problem that you run into with wiring is gauges. They take a lot of wires, and that's a pain in the ass. And some of them don't even have wires. They want you to like route the actual like sensor cable or whatever. It's just a fucking pain, and I hate it all. So since this car is now using OBD2 with the Northstar, we can cheat, and I can use an app called Torque. I have the Pro version. It's very cheap, and you own it permanently. And I got this head unit here with a 9-10 inch touchscreen, something like that, that I can wire into the car, and I will have all my gauges on there. This is a full Android unit, which means it can be rooted and set up to do whatever you want it to. So I'm going to have it set up so that way it opens up Torque automatically as soon as it has the power given to it, and it will just pretty much stay on that app 99% of the time. But I can do other things with it if I wanted to. So I have a double-din touchscreen there for the actual radio, though this one can obviously run a radio. I'm not going to. This one is just going to be set up strictly for the gauges. So I've got that to set up, and then the nice part about this too is that you can use it. It has the little metal square piece or whatever where you can mount it in a traditional double din, but it also has these pegs here, so that way you can just take a piece of something, whatever material of your choice, and you can just screw to it from the back side here, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing. So that's my plan there, and we'll see how all that works. The other thing I'm doing is I'm changing the dash speakers to 5 1/4. Don't mind, I have a huge mess going on. I'm currently rebuilding transmission for the Jeep there. Broke a snap ring in the overdrive section, and I just finished painting the case. Now I just need to go back and clean it and do all that good stuff. But I'm waiting on a couple more parts in order to continue on that. Spotted this S10 for sale. He's got Lambo doors. Gee, do they work? Oh, he's got the shaved handles.
Oh, how the fuck do you open it? From the inside?
Yeah, he doesn't have anything external yet. Got pretty good spring to him. Man, that's wonky. And of course it has no door panel. It's a 5-speed. It's an S10 though. That's gonna be a T5. That thing is guaranteed to blow up. Interior is not too bad.
See, it says for sale on it, but there's nothing.
Is there contact info? Look at the paint.
I know, the paint, I kind of like it.
Look at the detail in that.
I kind of like it.
It looks like fucking gator skin. This thing is straight out of 2002.
styling trucks. He was not wrong. Dude, the whole roof has it.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, there's no contact info. Can you pop the hood? Oh, it used to be red. Oh, that would be a stock 4.3.
No turbos.
Nerd, no boost.
No boost.
Look at
Tiny desk battery, lawnmower ass battery.
Bro, what?
Oh my god. Extended his ground.
Oh, had subs.
Yeah.
Wonder if it still does. Man, wheels are kind of cool. I like these wheels.
Yeah.
They're like indie wheels.
Do it still have subs? Oh.
Okay, I've successfully got my battery in the position that I wanted it. I have made my battery mount using a couple of these brackets, which are just to hold these are various brackets I got from work from the machine install. When they shipped everything on pallets, they use these brackets to hold the machine to the pallets. I managed to use a couple of those right there and there. You can kind of see them poking through there. That's them in there, painted black. And then I got a battery tray that I've screwed to that. And so that will now hold my battery. And now she be mounted. Ain't going nowhere. Okay, here comes first test. I have the board temporarily hooked up. I should be able to make everything work. Battery's fully charged. Right now we just have a simple kill switch there in order to activate the screen. And once we activate the screen, everything should start happening. Right now I only have one optional connection, which is going to be the radiator fan. I'm going to see if this works. If it doesn't, then I've got to make some changes. But we're going to test this real quick just by activating the circuit breaker. Okay. So now this side should be hot, but this switch here should activate the solenoid and we should be able to get something. Nothing happening. Okay, multimeter time. Let's see what we got going on here. So we should have power and ground to Arduino at this point. Okay, I know we're good to set this camera at. Apologies, you're gonna go down for a minute. Okay, so in testing, we're not getting power to the other side of the solenoid. So perhaps these two need to be swapped. Usually it doesn't matter, but I'll give that a shot. Okay, turns out the base of the solenoid has to be grounded. So I've got a little cable here that's grounding it down there. So now if I hit the switch, oh wait, sorry, circuit breaker on. Then switch, then we got the click, we've got PLC booting, and we've got our screen on. Okay, so PLC is in idle. We should be able to insert our temporary code. And that's not registering, so I probably have these swapped. Let me just fix that right quick. I forget which one is which. Okay, so let's try this again. There we go. Now we're in. We're flashing green. We should be able to go to fans. If we go to manual mode, we should be able to turn fan 1 on. Ooh, but I don't know that should have 30 amp relay, so that should be on, but let's test it. Okay, so case proven. We're only getting 3 volts out of Arduino, which is not enough to trigger the relay, which I suspected would be the case. So we're going to have to add a step up somehow for 30 relays. So I think I'm going to make my own PCB for that. I'm not sure, or I might have smaller relays to activate the bigger relays. So I needed to do this step to figure that out before I wired everything, so that way I knew if I had to do that or not, because I do. Now we can take this back to the bench and continue working on wiring it. But we know we're good up to this point. We know we have our kill switch working. We know that we have our solenoid working. We know that PLC and screen is working fine. The screen is good because we're using this 5-volt adapter, so that's showing that that works. Both of them are fused. Feel good so far. So now we can continue progress. We'll go ahead and shut that off and carry on. All right, well, I'm at the point where I figured out all of my accessories, what fuses they're going to take, where they're going to wire in at. So now I'm essentially at the point where I hate that this laptop can't stay on. I've got everything listed out here on Excel, saying what's what it does. And now I'm at the point where I need to go and find all the wires that I need to power that are in the car by factory and get them brought up here. So for example, the original fan, I have the wires for that. And then there's like wiper motor. You need wiper motor. You got to figure out what I need to power that. The blower for the HVAC, the heater, stuff like power windows, power mirrors, power locks, all these things. I need to figure out what wires need power in order for them to be active, and they need to be brought up there to the front. And then I need to sort out, this is where the PCM plugs in. I need to sort out the wires coming off of that I need to power and get those run all the way to the front. I need to get this starter wire here connected to starter and run up to the front. So I need to find everything that needs power and run it up there, so that way it can start eventually being tied into my fuse blocks. Progress. Got the relay board. I went ahead and threw it in. I'm going to have to 3D print something so that way I can stack 2 layers, because there's obviously no way I can fit 2 of those in here. Really, I have 3 solenoids I need to deal with too, but I'm just going to put in 2, and the third one for the starter I can put separately, because that sort of makes sense, I guess. Let's see what else we got for parts today. Got a delivery of 22 gauge wire for running wire from the PLC to the relay there, in case some of these aren't long enough. There's the heater core for the Jeep. I got another box of fuses to go with my current kit of fuses, because I'm running low on a few sizes here, so I can dump all those in and fill that up. Also got, these are some purple LEDs for Jessica's Jeep, and these are white LEDs for other stuff. I've got the voltage bump ups to go from 3.3 to 5. I'm not sure if I'll actually need those, but they were super cheap, so when I got them, and of course I have the foam. Oh, and then I have the other 12 to 5 volt converter, which is going to power the 5 volt side of these relay boards, because they need a 12 volt signal and a 5 volt signal. So this is also going to be stacked probably right on top of that one, or I guess I could put it on the other side. I don't know, haven't decided. Okay, we successfully have it going right now. We have battery connection, 100 amp circuit breaker, going to solenoid, kill switch on, That means Arduino's on, which means all the fuse blocks are on. This one will later, I'm going to change this middle one to be only on when Arduino says so. But right now they're all connected to the solenoid, so they're all on. And I've went ahead and logged in, and I've got my very first output completely wired. So you see we have the one green wire output there going into our mini relay board here, which is getting a 12 volt power supply, which is converting the 3.3 volts out of Arduino to 12 volts. And we see we have one white wire, which is going to signal one large relay, which according to our sheet here that I have, we're going for fan 1. So that's going to be this relay here, which is this 20 amp fuse and slot 8, which we see right there. And if we're in manual mode, we can turn on the fan manually. Okay. We can shut it off. On, off, on, off. Just like that. Upgrades, people, upgrades. It's time to more properly ground the engine block. This is the factory battery terminal ground cable from the Cadillac. And we can see it grounds on the engine right there. And I have it grounded to the car right there. I'm still going to ground it right through there because that's a good spot to ground. But we're going to change to 0 gauge. So we can see our wire thickness here, even compared to the factory battery cable. We're looking at like 3 times as large because I want to make sure we're grounded nice, because grounding issues are the cause of a lot of electrical issues. So I've got this little short guy in here that should fit in there perfectly, and that's going to help us out. Gotta do some lathe work. This part up in here is too fat. It can only fit the threads, not this fat part. I gotta go down in there now. So, a little bit of work, and I think I can make that happen. This might seem hard to believe, but getting this engine ground took me 2 days. Wow, a lot of work to do that, and a lot of freaking tools. Essentially, there was this bracket right here. The old ground went through this hole. Decided I don't really need this bracket anymore because I'm not using that strap. I thought I would, but it turns out I'm not going to need it. So I'll just go ahead and take that off, right? Well, that third hole there was the top alternator mount. This hole here. So the alternator is just floating there without this. So I needed to add a new bracket to align these 3 holes together. So I had to cut that out. You can see my little square piece here. So I got that made, and then because of the thickness of this, I had to shorten all the bolts. So the bolts got shortened, and then this top stud that goes in there, it had that portion with that flat spot, and that flat spot was thicker than the threads, and so it didn't actually seat it in there. So I had to put it into the drill fake lathe and grind it down until it was small enough that it actually could get in there. And then I just had to add a riv nut to over here because this stud is not long enough to add another nut onto it. So I had to add a rib nut in there with another bolt there, and it's finally in. But wow, a lot of chaos to get one cable in. Anywho's, that is now a nice solid 0 gauge ground, so I feel good about that. The factory starter cable here is only like 4, so I have more 4 gauge. I really want to do larger, like at least 2. I'm not sure if I'll do that or not, but we'll see. But at least that's in. The PCM comes Tuesday now, which unfortunately I leave for another work trip on Monday, so I'm not going to be able to fire this thing up before I leave again. But yeah, we'll get there. A lot of spaghetti to deal with over here. And then right now I'm working on getting the electronics center up here finished. My problem is, at some point today, the other relay board is going to come, which is good, but I need the mounting solution for it. The printer right now is currently printing walls for down there, but I really need an enclosure for it to do the ABS plastic, which is going to be heat resistant enough for being in a car, especially right behind the radiator and stuff. So I don't have an enclosure, so I have a blanket thrown over the printer, and that seems to be working enough to hopefully get at least these smaller walls built. Once one of those is done, then I'll throw in, I went ahead and made a sketch for the little brackets. They're just going to be like 4 little towers that come out and stick over a little bit, give you a spot to throw the screw in. So one of those on each corner will work. It's going to be a little tight. These are going to have to be pushed down just a little bit, you know, like that, in order for it to fit. But hopefully it should all work to be able to put the cover on top of this still. So, yep. And then we're also waiting right now for a remote start kit shows up today. So as soon as that comes in, then we can start looking at where to add all the wires for that. I want to go ahead and get that done now, since there's a lot of wiring involved for that. And while everything is completely stripped, because as soon as this wiring is, you know, in a place we're happy with, this thing starts getting put back together fast. So I want to make sure that I have all the major wiring that I need ready, because I don't want to take this stuff apart again. Okay, it's another day of Northstar, and it's chaotic as usual. Right now, what we're doing is working with our board upgrade. I've blown up 2 Arduino boards already, which is no surprise because, well, they blow up easily. This is the new board from Rugged, which has a lot of protection and resettable fuse, so it should not blow up, and hopefully so, because it was twice the price of a regular board. But I just got the program uploaded to it. I think I had to change a couple things just because we're going from a Giga to this Mega. I believe the only thing that changed is yes, we have some RGB pins on the Giga, and we do not have those on the Mega. So I just changed that. I could still add LED function if I wanted to. It has a little LED down there. I don't have a tiny screwdriver right there. But I'm not going to worry about it right now. Right now I'm going to test it and see if it works. So to do that, I've got to get everything wired back in. The IOs are the same standard pins, but for our power and serial connections, we now have these screw terminals all along there to keep it held down better. And I know we still have the Giga case in there. I ordered a case for the Mega, so hopefully that will get here later today. But other than that, we also have a lot of other things to do today. I've got a box full of parts to work with. I've got tons of loom, 3 sizes, so that way I can start putting that in. I've got this roll of foam, stick-on foam, probably for like your door seal or something, but what I need it for is to put the dash in. There used to be foam going along the perimeter of this defog thing, so I scraped all that off, and I'll stick a new one right on there. See how that's going to work. And then the dash presses on top of that. So that should work good for that. Last night I spent a bunch of time handling wires for the onboard screen here. And I also got the screen mounted onto this piece of ABS. And so that's going to go right inside the pod. And yeah, I've decided that this is going to be the radio because it's just going to be easier than having 3 screens. I really only want the 2. So we'll simplify it a little bit because this already has all that functionality. So that should be fine. I also got the microphone moved up there. Still have our camera and stuff up there. And then I also have our soundboard for the chime. That's going to be mounted kind of up in here somewhere. So I have aux cable for that, power. I just need to tie this with this ground, and then the power, I'm going to connect it to the same power as that to make that easier. And then, because this only pulls like, you know, a couple amps or whatever, not much. And then what else? I have wires here run back so that way I can have the speakers back here. And then I have, of course, the speaker wire ran for the dash speakers on either side. So that's some progress. What else do we have going on? We have this little bundle of fantastic factory Cadillac fuses here. We do need these, so I'm working on fixing all this up. I'm starting to tidy it up a little bit. We got our PCM mounted with this handy bracket here. Clamp that guy in real tight. And then, yeah, so to deal with the fuses, we need these because this is basically engine security. These are 4 of these fuses here are just for we have 1 10 amp for the injector 1 through 4, and then another one for injectors 5 through 8. So we have 1 bank of injectors, 2 bank of injectors. So there's a fuse for each bank, and then there's a fuse for each oxygen sensor, and then there's also this 20 amp fuse which provides ignition power to the PCM there. So that's 5 fuses that we need. And so somewhere in here I've got, yeah, this handy guy, which can figure out where to mount him somewhere. And this will be the 5th fuse box for this thing. It's going to be virtually impossible for wiring to catch on fire here because there's 20 bazillion fuses. Like every single freaking thing is fused, which is a little ridiculous. But at the same time, we're changing from the Fiero fuse box, which I'm not sure where I put that. There it is. You know, it's floating around here somewhere. But all you had on the stock Fiero was this block and a couple of, what are they called? The wire, fusible links, yes. So a lot of things were combined on fuses, and I just found that sketchy. So we're not doing that anymore. So everything is individual now. So it'll also make it very easy to diagnose, because if a fuse blows, it's going to be for something specific. And so you are already narrowed down to only 1 or 2 circuits versus that. There's like 4 or 5, 6 circuits for each one of those damn fuses, almost. So this will help out. Plus, it does take a few more fuses because there is a lot more going on here than stock Fiero. So there's also that, but still. Anyways, moving on. So we have fuse block number 5, which is going to hide out in the engine bay somewhere because every single fuse there is related to right here. So let's not make it too difficult. Also have AN line and some fittings. This is going to be for the transmission cooling, because right now the transmission cooler is this, a loop. Just rubber hose clamped on,
making a loop. We haven't driven the car, so the trans has not gotten, it's only gotten to 190, 200. It's not been overheated or anything. But there's no cooler at all. And I really don't want to use the radiator transmission cooler. I could, but number one, had an impossible time trying to get that line onto the bottom. You see I got the top one on. But two, the whole reason that this truck is sitting here and the reason that its transmission is piled up in pieces right here is if you have or have not watched the other episode, you would know that this strawberry milkshake looking thing here, it's because the radiator failed and coolant went all through this transmission, which only had 80,000 miles on it, and it has been blown to pieces because it had coolant go through it instead of ATF. So a lot of the clutches now look like this, where there's no material on them. There, no, they're supposed to look like this with material. No, all that material's, you know, hanging out down in here, turned into whatever that is. Nasty stuff. So I'm going to keep it isolated. So far, I'm very happy with doing that. This Jeep over here has an isolated cooler. Let me show you that so you can see what I'm talking about. This one's got it in kind of an odd spot, but it does work. Where is it? There it is. See? Kind of here in front of the rear axle, and it does have rubber hoses. I should change those to AN at some point. But anyways, it's got its own auxiliary fan, so it keeps itself very, very cool. And that's just located kind of down under the rear door there. So there's no transmission cooler lines going up to the radiator up front at all. It's just isolated on that. And that thing, with that thing being whatever it is, 4,000 something pounds, four-wheel drive all the time, and it runs 140 pretty much all the time, 140 to maybe 150 or so. So it runs ice cubes. So this car has the 4T80E, which is basically a 4L80 but transverse. So it's got a very beefy transmission, and it's in a car that weighs maybe 3,000. Probably 3,000 with all the shit I've added, but still, it's much lighter. The only vehicle that I have that's not currently isolated is Suburban, but you can see it has, maybe you can't, but it's hiding through there. Let's go take a look. See it? It's got that same cooler hiding in there. Now it is also looped into the radiator, but I will probably change that later. But that thing, I mean, this is a huge vehicle, you know, 4-inch lift, 7,000 pounds, 35s, and it's only got a 700 R4 weak sauce transmission, and it still only runs about 160. And then Matt here, he's also got one. So got our cooler here. He put it back here in the bed, and he's gonna make like some cool vent here or something for it to get some airflow. And then he's also has like a whole toolbox design to go on back here. So there's supposed to be like a wall and some ventilation or whatever going on, and then I think it's in this section is supposed to be where he's gonna store his jack and all that. So it's going to be very utilitarian back here, but you can see he has the same, you know, stacked cooler, aux fan. This is all from Daryl. And these things just work really good. And his is all AN lines. So I don't know if we can really see them tucked down here, but yeah, he's got a void for his trans, but he's got all AN lines. So that's what we're going to do with Northstar here. I don't have the cooler in yet, but I do have the hoses and fittings, and then just got to decide where to put this cooler. We face some challenges at the moment. One, we have a big air box there, but that's okay because you can see where we need to add, where we need to get to with the air box is the side vent there.
So it's possible that the trans cooler could sit on top of the airbox somehow, but I'm not sure. And then this side we have the surge tank from the Cadillac, which I'm kind of trying to use because it actually works really well. It's just in a really odd shape. So it's possible to put the trans cooler in here somewhere. I'm just not sure yet. So we'll figure out where to put it eventually. The good news is that it's got its own fan, so it can go pretty much anywhere as long as there's a little bit of airflow. So that's good. Moving on. Let's talk about that. Oh, we just got tools, I think, at this point. This is the spare sensor. This is a temp sensor for Suburban because I broke it. I didn't have it zip tied well enough. And these things are so fragile. Look at the 2 wires sticking out. It ripped right out, right at the nub. Got caught on something, so gotta do better at that. This is a ball joint separator kit. It's turned into an unboxing video. But it's got all the various different things to do ball joints, which is Matt's currently working on. He's got that spindle there to get off, and he couldn't get it off, and that's basically what dumped us into, well, we'll just go ahead and get this kit. I've been doing it with hammers and pry bars for, well, 10 plus years now, and we've done enough of these things that it's probably time to spend $40 and just get this little kit. So I don't really like buying tools that I don't necessarily need, but if I do something enough times, I like to make it easier on myself. And that trend is about to transition right into this next tool. This is Cool Tools, and this is their AN fitting connector tool. Or this is a Dash 6, where it's like the little thing where you can stick your fitting in there, you clamp it together in the vise, and then you can push your hose on real easily. It's more useful with like the stainless, like steel metal ones where you're gonna tear your hands apart. These ones are a fabric material on the outside, so it's not so bad. These Evil Energy lines, which I think is good enough for me, but if you're doing something a little bit more serious with the steel braided lines, then you pretty much have to get one of these. So this is expensive. This is like $90 for these. But at this point, we've already done, I think, 3 vehicles with AN lines on the trans. Not to mention, you can use AN lines for other things too. Oh yeah, this thing has AN lines for the fuel. Still a work in progress, as you can see. Got one quick disconnect done, the other one is still hose clamped. But yeah, this is all on the fuel lines too. So this is going to be a good thing to have. I just need more storage because I don't have anywhere to put any of this shit. And then I'm trying my first set of Duratech wrenches. They have at Hobo Freights the long double box end icons, but they're $200, and the snap-ons are like, I don't know, 500 something or whatever. So these were on the big spring sale on Amazon. They're normally $70 and they were on sale for $45. So for $45, I'm sure as hell gonna give them a try. They are long, as you can see, and they are, exactly what they say they are. 16, 18, so they're dual size. They're flex head on both ends, and I'll start using them and see if they're any good or not. But for $40, I don't think I can really go wrong. So, and it's 8 to 19 with no skips, which is very nice. So you're not missing any sizes. The only thing I think that's weird about it is it goes 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then it goes 16, 18, 17, 19 instead of 16, 17, 18, 19. But I guess that makes sense because the way things work. If you're working on a lot of cars, that makes sense. But it's still a little weird. I don't know. Anyways, that's all the stuff we got for the moment. I got some more stuff coming later today, but this will let me progress. So right now, back to the main thing. we've got to get this board plugged back in, plug in all of our IOs, and test and see if we have functionality again for our PLC. Once I have that, then we can move on to doing a lot of things. I think the main thing right now is I need to get the alternator functioning, so I need to make sure that works for two reasons. One, it'll charge the car, and we kind of need that for really driving anywhere, and also for the remote start system. The remote start system is relying on seeing an alternator output in order for it to know that the car is on, and it currently doesn't, so it just turns on and then shuts off when you're using the remote start. So that's a problem. I forgot what the other reason that I needed that to work for is, but you know, you need an alternator, so that's important. We have the transmission cooler in. I'm not sure if I already showed that or not. Just going through so many things at once here. But we're developing the AN lines for the cooler, and I wanted to show you this quick thing that I like to do. I have these blocks for the AN lines that go in the vise and whatnot, but I always push the fitting all the way out of the vise, so that way it goes at an angle like this, because then this end grips the hose, so the hose is not allowed to back out when you go to push this part in. But because of the shape of the clamps here, and because the way things work in the world, it still holds it in place all the same, so it's not going to slip or anything. But then you not have to worry about putting on tape and seeing if it backs out or not, because it just really can't. So I've never even really had that problem with these hoses, but I really don't worry about it with this setup. I've never seen them back out, so works good for me. And we got this one started, and then somewhere in this giant mess, I'm gonna have to play clean shop after this, because everything is absolutely everywhere, especially when you have two projects going on at once. So yeah, guess we'll play scan for the wrench. Scan, 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 scan. I need a Terminator eye or something so I can fucking find this damn shit. Somewhere, 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 somewhere. Oh yeah, I got carpet going in now on the passenger side. Driver side, got seat, so that's good. Got the seat buckle on that side. I'm missing it for this side. But yeah, that's coming along, so that's good. The dash pod, I don't know if you guys have seen that is fully installed now. Got speakers in, but they're just loose. I don't have them mounted down yet. Well, they're mounted to the plate, but the plate's not mounted down. And I haven't quite figured out what to do for a cover yet. I'm not sure if stock Fiero covers will clear those or not. But I bought these 5 1/4 speaker adapters for a Fiero, but they're really not very much of an adapter. They really weren't very helpful. Wouldn't really recommend buying them, but there they are. And this wrench appears to be gone for good, so that's fantastic. Maybe it's in this giant pile of shit. Nope, does not appear to be. Anybody see it? It's a black AN wrench. It's like a Mexican socket set, except it's aluminum for AN fittings. Oh, yes, here we go. Found. See? By Brifitor. Probably some knockoff. But anyways, that's what I'll be using for this purpose here. Crank, spin you around. Crank. We'll do that until this thing is all the way closed up. There we go. And there is fully installed fitting on both ends. This side, see 90, this side 45. Anyways, the other hose, it's kind of in a little bit of a hidden spot. It's right there. You can kind of see the silver, maybe. I don't know if that is focused or not, but it's this hose right in here, right near the dipstick area. That's gonna run along over there and then boop, down to the cooler, which it's already installed on this end. You can see it's right here. Just needs to be hung up so it's not rubbing. But yeah, that takes care of that. And then the other one is gonna go down, back under this frame rail, and loop, and it goes under the exhaust, kind of in the middle back here. It's a weird spot, but that's where it goes. And this is the fitting I have to use. There's a difference in fittings here because I read that it was a 9/16-18, so I bought this, which is a 9/16-18, but it's an NPT, it's a pipe thread. And it turns out, when I pulled it out, it is this flat thread with the O-ring type. So they're both the same thread, it's just a different type of fitting end. So now I got these, and so hopefully we should be all Gucci to go now. Okay, back under the car. Here you can see where I pulled the fitting out for the trans. You can see it's kind of right under the exhaust here. Now here are the two fittings. This one is from the return side. This one is from right there where I just showed you. Now they're supposed to have the same thread, and they sure look pretty damn fucking similar to me. But they are, in fact, not the same, despite looking almost the same. Because this one will not fit in there, which I tried. After trying to fit, you know, the good old AN fitting in there, which, right here. So, because that's not going to work, that means the only fitting that I have that I can use is this. For now. Because, you know, no part stores carry any AN anything, and it's Sunday, so if there is any race shops, they're all closed too, so I'm kind of fucked at the moment. But I want to try to drive this, so I'm going to use this fitting. I'm going to use my AN line, but I got this. Let's try this again. Okay, so now, again, male to male with a bar bend on this end, so I can screw that onto there. And what I'm going to do is I've got a tubing cutter. I'm just going to cut a little bit of the tube there, so if I can screw in this hard line into this original fitting like it originally would be, I can put a little flare on the end of that guy and put a little piece of rubber hose between there to here, clamp it, and that will be my hose for now, which will be fine. So there's that. Okay, so first test drive with Northstar here, really successful, but also not at the same time. It lasted a mere 3 minutes before I broke it. So looking into that now, we have an electrical issue of some sort. The thing rips pretty hard, but I did not make it to wide open before the ignition popped off. Engine cranks, no start, and I've started looking at it. I already have no power to the rear fuse block. So it's up front, found a blown fuse. We're gonna see if that insta pops or not when I change it. And if it does, then we can more easily diagnose where it's popping at. If not, then it's gonna take some more investigations. So I believe it was this fuse? Yes. Focus. Blown for sure. Let's see if this insta pops. I have ignition on right now. Nope, turn back on. Oh, did that pop? Did that pop? No? Okay. That's just fuel pump turning on. Okay. Is that the correct amperage? That's another question. Oh, that's powering that whole block. Yes, this is not enough amperage actually. That's the problem. So I'm gonna change this to a 15, see if that helps. Because that one in particular is powering the entire fuse block in the rear. That's right. So that definitely needs to be a little bit more. So let's see what that does. Okay, I'm now going to let you guys know how well Western Digital 40 works on plastic dip. Got to finally get rid of the green. The dentist green all over the car is super terrible. I mean, it's everywhere, and I hate it. I hate it so much. It just ruins this car so bad. So I'm gonna see what I can do to at least get rid of it and go from there. So let's see how this goes.
Riders on the storm. Into this house we're born. Into this world we're thrown. Like a dog without a bone, a natural alone. Riders on the storm. There's a killer on the road. His brain is squirming like a toad. Take a long holiday and let your children play. If you give this man a ride, the family will die. Killer on the road.
Parts delivery time. Got more stuff. I've got, this is the 3-way junction block for the rear brakes. I've got this, it's much bigger than I thought it would be. junction block for back here. This is going to connect from the battery to both the starter and the alternator. Because right now the alternator has nowhere to go, and I don't want to run a wire all the way up front. Because I want to run a 4-gauge wire, and there's already one doing that, so that will be good. I've got these little brackets for the brake line brackets because we don't have any. I also got clips for that as well. These are little indicators for the turn signals, but they're really, really tiny. So they kind of look like junk. I'm not sure if I'm going to use them or not. We'll see. I'll plug them in and see how they look. But yeah, there's that. Trying to go down the list here. We've got both brake hoses. So we got just the regular rubber hoses, but can't fucking win. That's there. I got some more ASA filament, UV resistant, weather resistant, high heat capability for making the center console and stuff. I've got some more 5/8 heater hose here from good old Evil Energies. That's both for this and the Jeep. I've got these. This is the female version of these here, which are RCA to plain wire, so that way I can plug in the speakers. Oh, I dropped it already. Let's see, female RCA end, and then it outputs the wires for you. Just a nice little thing to have. And then there's the male versions there. So I have both versions now. That way you can use RCA cables to run your speaker, which is good. And then I've got some extra. I have the pre-made lines, you know, from the Fiero store, all these stainless lines. But I think that kit I got there is for an 88 and this is an 87, so I don't know. Apparently there's a difference. So I've got some spare stainless steel line here with some fittings in there. So that way I can make it work if I run into any issues. I've got these screws here. These are going to be for their flush head screws, self-tapping, black. These are going to be for the plastic for building these walls up for our electrical center here. So I also got some plastic sheet that's 3/8 thick to cut out and build the walls with, because that's going to be a lot faster than printing them. Because I need to focus on printing the console pieces. Let's see, what else did I get? Oh yeah, I got one brake rotor here. The other one's supposed to show up tomorrow. This is the Grand Am upgrade. It's really just make your car reasonable. It's the same diameter rotor, but it turns it to a vented rotor instead of a plain rotor. And it uses the Grand Am calipers, which I have there, being painted. I just gotta wait for the other rotor to come in today. And then I also got somewhere over here, I got the pads, some whatever the parts store had for a Grand Am, semi-metallic pads, whatever. And then I got the new steering wheel. This is a cheap steering wheel, which is not recommended, but this had really, really good reviews. And it's not quite my Sparko wheel, but it seems decent. So I don't know. We're going to give it a try. We'll see if I smash my arm on it, it folds into a taco or something. We'll have to test that out at some point, but I figure it's worth a shot, and I need a steering wheel for this drive. So, yeah. I think that's where we're at. Also found the freaking power probe. That motherfucker, it was in Matt's car trunk this entire time. I've been searching for it for 6 months. I've been searching for it ever since I got to Kentucky. And I thought it was gone. But nope, it was in its damn trunk the whole time. Dick. Also, I made a tool. Well, not really made a tool. I just kind of modified a tool. There's this Klein multimeter, which I think came from work. But it's a piece of shit, and it won't read readings worth a fuck very well as far as voltage goes. But it reads continuity great. And so I made it my long-range continuity tester. So I just, crimped a wire on the end and made it about 20 feet long. And then I've got an alligator clip on the end of it here. And then I clipped that onto a pick to check at the end of plugs and stuff. You can supposedly do it with the Power Pro, but I don't think mine has that functionality. So that's my other one. Plus, I'll end up using them at the same time anyway, so it's just convenient to have both out at the same time. So yeah, that's our parts delivery. So hopefully, aiming for this weekend to have these rear brakes done. Basically, my rear brakes currently are that right there. See that? It might be blurry, but that's a pinched end of a brake line. And that's all there is for rear brakes. There's no calipers, no nothing back here. No, I mean, see, this is the hose. This is from when we cut the car in half. So all that stuff's long gone. So we got to start over from scratch back here. But we're going to get that done. And then we should be able to bleed the brakes and have brakes. I also have these 2 rear tires are garbage. So I got 2 new tires coming tomorrow as well. So I think on Monday we're going to Matt has to put his tires on his wheels that he's fixed up. And so we're going to mount all 6 tires on Monday probably. But yeah, that's the goal. Brakes, tires, and then we could start piddling with all this other little shit. Got 2 weeks, and then we're aiming to drive about 500 miles in Northstar. Grand Am brake upgrade is in. Well, loose because I still need to bleed the brakes. But caliper on, rotor on, pads in. Got the hose in. That's good. I'm working on setting up the lines. I ended up putting the junction block here. And I'm kind of modifying this kit from the Fiero store to work with my junk. I got this one going over to the other side. It's all just dangling around right now. I'll have to mount it later. And then this one just goes behind the frame and then up and over the frame to here. And it's not mounted yet, but that's kind of where I'm wanting to put it. And you can see my end there. I went ahead and Matt's going to grab another union because the unions I have are the wrong size. But I have this short piece here to run from here to over there. But I'm also looking at the whatever I did with it, this full length line here. I'm seeing if that at all remotely matches up with the 87 here to run the whole length of the car and it ends up over there somewhere. Because I could just replace the whole line as well. That's an option if it looks like it's going to work. So I'll see. It looks remotely close actually, so I might end up just doing that. I'll see. Let you guys know. Matt's got his transmission being painted there. And yeah, we're well on our way. I'm missing a rotor for this side. So I've got my line where I want it, but there's no brakes happening here because there's no rotor. So caliper and pads until rotor shows up. Northstar on a casual drive here. I did some more math on the trans temp gauge, changed it again to see what we end up with. Kind of just started a minute ago, so about 100 and 165 on coolant. Seems okay. I just also wired in that torque converter clutch, so I'm trying to get up on the highway and see how low of RPM we get, see if that checks out. Just getting up to about 50 there. It definitely felt like it was dropping that extra bit, so I think we're good, but I'm gonna throw it up on the highway just to find out, just to be sure that it's working, because that's going to keep the trans cooler and of course improve our economy, so that'll be good for a long trip. But yeah, we're just kind of sitting in traffic a lot. I still don't have the automatic on the fans yet, so we just have the radiator and trans fans on right now, and with the fan staying on with this radiator from Champion or whatever, the coolant, when you're sitting in traffic for an hour or so, maybe 2 hours, it seems to regulate right at about 205 to 208, stays in there, never went above 208, so that's better than factory, so I'll take it, because originally it would have been around 220 to 230, something like that, if I remember. So seemed pretty good with that, but yeah, just kind of cruising at the moment. It's a stormy day here today, but still off to work here with Northstar yet again. I'm not sure where we left off, but this is my long list that really doesn't have everything on it at all. I did finish installing the cradle bolts, the new ones. I'll show those. I have printed an HMI mount. I do have another one going. This will be the third attempt at getting it exactly how I want, but that's pretty much good to cross off for now. What else did I just mark off? I'm not sure. Anyways, so we've put about 500 miles on the car so far, and it's doing pretty decent. I only have a couple issues. Number one, the suspension is really bad. Really bad. There's clearly no shocks that work, not a one, especially the steering damper doesn't work. So it's pretty bouncy at the moment. Alignment's fairly bad, not the worst, not as bad as I expected, so that's good. What else is wrong with it? There's no torque converter lockup. That's kind of a big issue at the moment. That's really hurting fuel economy, and it did make me run out of fuel once. So small tank, no TCC, and redlining it whenever I feel like it tends to run you out of fuel pretty quick. Anyways, otherwise, like, engine itself has been very reliable. Trans has been very reliable, minus we don't have TCC. I'm not sure exactly what the reason for that is yet, but I'm working on it. Alright, we're off in Northstar. Apologize, it's probably a little noisy, windy. I still don't have everything completely sealed up, and the door/window seals are shot, so that part's a little loud. The floor is nice and quiet, but that's about it at the moment. We're going, I think it's 550 miles to Topeka from Louisville, so it's a ways away, but so far so good. We've been test driving the car for a week going to work. My work is like 50 minutes away, so it's been getting a couple hours of driving every day. and I've been fixing stuff on it all week. It's been very tiring, very burned, but we're at this point now, so, you know, here it goes. It either works or it doesn't, so we're going to find out. Otherwise, there's also this rattle. My dash pod isn't fully secure yet, so it's making some noise. It's annoying. But overall, we're not doing too bad. There's a whole list of problems still going on, but it ain't bad. Like, I think occasionally TCC, I still don't know if it's really working or not, but it feels like sometimes it kind of kicks up in RPMs randomly when you're cruising in fourth. So I think maybe it's still just a little confused or something, or something's kicking it off. I'm not sure exactly what. And it also, if I like force ground it, and then while the car's in park, like, it doesn't shut off. So I don't know if it's really working or not, but we'll see. The temperature of the trans for my drives has been fine going to work, but I've yet to see the temperature go down. It just, you know, it slowly rises like trans temps does. It seems to want to hit around like 160 to 168 degrees, and by then my drive is over, which, you know, that's ice cubes. That's plenty cool. But I haven't experienced yet where it holds and maintains that temperature, you know. So I'll see. I have the fan on, you know, full time. The coolant is staying great though. The coolant is staying right around 195 to 205. You know, 208's the most I've seen it sitting in traffic forever. So that's fine. That's better than original. I think original sat at 220. So I'm very happy with that. But the trans temp, I just want to see where it stabilizes at. So we'll see about that. What else did I end up doing? Oh, I also have 2 leaks. One is, well, aside from oil from the Northstar, because that's a given. It's very disgusting under there. I cleaned a bunch of it up with brake clean, but it actually doesn't really use oil that much. I mean, for the whole week I was using it, it still wasn't low. Like, it was still halfway up the stick, which for me, in my experience, Northstar, you pretty much have to add oil every time you get gas. So this one actually doesn't seem to be all that bad. It just looks bad. I did get the oil changed, so that's good. I don't think I've ever changed it since I owned it, this engine. So it was pretty dark, but it's clean. No metallic confetti. You know, no Duramax want to go disco party. None of that. So I'm happy with that. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, the leaks. So I got a coolant leak on the tube. The coolant tube on the driver's side in the corner. If you've had a Fiero before, you'll know that it's those spots where it's like a quote-unquote jack point, but not really. The tube gets crushed there or whatever. Mine isn't crushed, but it seemed like some corrosion developed there, and so some rust got onto the pipe, which is a stainless steel pipe, but it's a fairly low-grade stainless steel, so it can still rust eventually, and that's kind of what it did. And so it's just like sweating, we're going to call it sweating coolant, very, very slowly, like a few drops a night. So it's not much, but you know, you go under there and you can see the coolant, you know, sitting there waiting to drip. I put JB Weld over it, but the JB Weld doesn't really work when it's got liquid there. I mean, I clean it with brake clean and then apply it, but it's still, JB Weld dries so slow that it seems the coolant still manages to make a little path through it. So that's kind of unfortunate. And now
Now the other leak that I got going on is actually the CV boot on my axle. It's the outer boot on the driver's side. I can't find a hole or a crack or anything wrong with it, but it's where the hose clamp goes around on the very outside part, the larger diameter part. There's just grease everywhere thrown around in that section, but the clamp is tight and I can't find anything wrong with it. I mean, that's looking at it while it's on the car, you know, so it's kind of hard to tell, but you know, if there's a split or something, it's got to be really, really small. So I'm not gonna panic over it. So we'll just see how it goes. I mean, I guess worst case scenario, it eventually runs completely out and blows up, but I don't think that's gonna happen in a 1,000 miles or so. That's probably gonna take many thousands of miles to get there. By then I can take it apart and look at it, so I'm not gonna panic, but I cleaned all the grease up so that way I can see, you know, how much more it's thrown out. I did grease my whatever it is that GM called them, some sort of fancy name for. We took our front suspension, but to keep the back wheels from turning, we just took those tie rods and mounted them to a fixed point on the frame. You know, whatever you want to call those inner tie rods. They're inner tie rods, but they mount to a fixed point. Those are, well, I guess then it would be the outer tie rod, I guess. They're blown up as fuck, but I shoved a bunch of grease in them and we're gonna call it good. There's not any like play in them. There's just not much of any boot left. So, you know, it is what it is. I've got my cart loaded up on Rodney's site with all his ball joints and tie rod ends and all that stuff. I want to try and get them before they're all gone, I guess, because I don't think he's making those anymore. I picked up his zero lash end links for the front sway bar, so that way I have those. I'm still debating on what to do for suspension because, well, the entire suspension is trash, so I need to redo everything. I'm kind of looking at just starting out with getting like the Fiero store handling kit or something like that. But that, I mean, that design is old. You know, it's been around forever. You'd think there might be something a little bit newer and better out now. One of the problems that I'm worried about with it is it adds a rear sway bar, which is great. You really need that. But it does hang, like people say it hangs really low, and on the pictures it looks really low. And with the car gonna be lowered, I mean, I don't know. I know the roads around here are, everywhere I seem to go, it's really rough, so I don't know. Still debating. I seen there's some like different coilover options that people have done, especially in the rear. The front not so much, but I don't know. If anybody has any ideas, that'd be great. I'm trying to spend like around $1,500 or so for suspension. Strictly like this, whatever you want to do for struts and springs and sway bars. That's kind of what I want. Like I said, I'm going to buy all the ball joints and tie rods and all that stuff from Rodney. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Suspension kind of sucks, but alignment's not great. But it's not as bad as you'd think. Like, I thought it was going to be really bad because we got to consider what the car's been through. I mean, they say you got to get an alignment real bad anytime you drop the cradle. I mean, this cradle got dropped. This cradle got cut in half. It got re-welded. The car got cut in half, and it got re-welded. Yeah, you know, so, and it's a different leak than before. So there's a lot of variables, but I think it seems pretty good to me. The only, like, it pulls slightly to the right, but not any worse than any other shit box from 20 years ago, you know? Like, it's not that bad. And I can already tell what the deal is. It's the, you can see it from your eye. Both the rear tires for the cradle, they're both pointed a little bit to the left. So
I think all we got to do is really just adjust the tie rods, and they have a little bit of camber. I think from probably the extra weight, especially from the 4T80, it adds like an extra 100 pounds. So there's certainly a little bit of extra weight back there, and that's another thing I want to kind of consider when I'm doing the suspension as well. I think the base handling kit will probably be fine, because the struts are kind of self-adjusting, but I don't know. Just food for thought. It's still in process. But other than that, the suspension we have right now, it's shit, but I've greased everything, and so and everything seems tight enough to me. The steering's not super loose or anything. It's got a tiny bit of play, but very, very little. It's just not quite as tight as I'm used to with Formula, because Formula's is perfect. But it's a lot better than what's on my Suburban or on my truck or anything like that, so that's a plus. There goes that dash rattling again. It's annoying. I gotta fix that while I'm out there. The other thing I'm gonna do, you've seen I got the stock wheels and tires on it right now, but I'm gonna switch to the new wheels and tires that are on Formula. Honestly, I don't even know if you guys have seen those. There's some drifts wheels. I traded the Dodge Stealth for. I don't even know if you guys have seen that car or not, but it was here briefly. Well, in Topeka briefly, but had some title problems that came up with that car, so I ended up trading it, and I got some wheels out of it. Now I got to get some tires for those wheels, because I had some track tires on it, but then roommate ended up driving it a lot, and so naturally the soft compound they went bald really fast. So you know, it is what it is. I get some new ones. I get some highway ones or whatever, because they're gonna go in this car. And this car, I think I'll just probably get some separate wheels for the track tires later. Try to do what I can. But yeah, hopefully no issues with this trip. And then I gotta abandon the car for an extra 2 weeks because I gotta go to Flint, Michigan for work. So that's super great. Get to try out their water. And then because it's like such a tight deadline, I don't have time to drive back to Kentucky. So I'm gonna have to fly out of Kansas, go to Flint, and then once I'm done there, I'll fly back to Kansas, pick up the car, and then drive back to Kentucky afterwards. So yeah, kind of a mess, but that's my life, and that's why it's been so hard getting these videos up and stuff. Hope you don't mind me talking forever. Anyways, we're gonna see how it goes. We're already 50 something miles into this, and we'll chit chat if anything happens. See ya.
Just got finished fighting coolant. Disaster. We went out and ripped on this thing, and it worked pretty good. And then we exploded coolant and made a giant stain in the front of my buddy's shop here. It just seemed like it got a giant air pocket, and we refilled it, and now it seems like it's fine. So I'm gonna head back to Topeka, 2-hour drive, and should be okay. Check out the new tires he put on and picked out. They're extra sticky. We got, these are 275 40s. Yes, 275 40s on rear. And what are the fronts? 225s? These are 225 45s. And then he also aligned the thing, so now it drives straight. It's just not quite perfect because I think I put the steering wheel on crooked. But the steering wheel's straight now. It's straight but crooked.
Hey man, I just looked for the blue line that's in the steering wheel.
Yeah, the center line on the wheel there.
Yep, I probably put it on a little off and then he aligned it straight. So now it turns more to the left than it does the right, but only by a little.
Easier donuts.
Easier donuts going left.
Oh, race car. Left turns only.
Yeah, do it for Dale. But yeah, I think she's sorted now. Didn't last too long. Fucking blew up again. Hot as fuck back there. Nice kids up here. Alright, now that you've seen Northstar run and drive around, I've successfully blown it up. And since I blew it up, the most logical thing to do, because what I did last time I blew up the Northstar was I went ahead and bought another Northstar. So then I went ahead and bought that Northstar in a hearse, and that one blew up. So my next move to solve this issue here is right around the corner. Let's take a look. And if you haven't guessed by now, you should start guessing it correctly at this point. Because, yep, another one. See you next time.